Hello and welcome to the Mind Your Mind podcast. Here in Mind Your Mind podcast, we talk about ideas and thoughts about life, mind, universe, everything and nothing at all in an unscripted, unprepared, and undisturbed way. In the next episode, I'm gonna rap. I'm going to that direction. Well, my name is Ozan Kulchu, and as always, I am with, yes, you guessed it right, Henna Malik. Hi, Henna, what's up?
Hi, Ozan. Okay, so today's topic is the most commonly talked and discussed topic. You are going to perhaps hear about it everywhere around you, on all the apps, in your phone, or any well-being session. You will get to know about this topic. You will learn a lot about this topic, but mostly the negative part of it. So we are going to talk about the most common topic in an uncommon way today. So the topic is called stress. And I'm sure we all see stress in a very negative light, that it can ruin your mind, it can play havoc with your body, and it can just cause all things bad.
Just that you spoke about it, just give me chills. I feel like my stomach is hurting
Oh
right
god,
now.
how
Just that you
stressful
you
is that?
mentioned, yeah.
So exactly, see, that's the very effect of the word. And if the word can give you so much stress, then I believe that we need to seriously think about how important it is to have a stress-free life. Is it possible to remove stress altogether from your lives? So, Ozan, firstly, before we delve deeply into this topic, I would want to ask you, what exactly do you mean by stress, and how is physical stress different from perhaps the psychological stress?
As I'm a mechanical engineer, I learned the stress more in a physical manner. How does it exert on the objects and what does it mean? Once you learn that, actually, you can start to see the psychological meaning is not that different from the physical one. So the stress is basically the pressure or tension exerted on an object. So you have an object and you have a force acting on it. Most probably it's an external force. As the force acts on an object, stress is just the pressure caused by that. So the force divided by the surface area where the force is exerting on the object. So I did a lot of FEA simulations. It's called the finite element analysis.
Mhm.
Here you create some mesh on the object. So you have the 3D model. Let's say I have a 3D model of henna. I made one and I create a mesh. So I basically create nodes for your molecules or bunch of molecules together. And then I add a force on it. And then I run the finite element analysis, and it just shows me in a color mode. It looks like a very nice candy. Like where is red, there is stress on it. And it's mostly near the areas where the force is exerted or near the areas where the structure is not strong enough. So you might have for example, you have a table, you exert a force on it. The highest stress is not actually on the table, but on the legs, especially if there is any defect on the leg, that you will
Mhm.
see quite red. And those are the places which are going to break first. But now, if you look at the mental side of it, basically the psychological meaning of it is like the state of mental or emotional strain resulting from adverse or demanding circumstances.
Okay.
Now, it's important to look at it from the same point of view. You have an object, which is you, and you have some circumstances, either external or it can be internal as well. You might create stress as well. You create some force, or externally, there is some force acting on you, on your brain, mentally, and it creates some stress. And this stress is felt in the areas where it's the weakest. And generally, we feel it in our bodies. For example, it shows different in different people. But for example, for me, it shows either in my back, like I have back pains, or in my stomach. I think the stomach is the like one of the most common ones. You're stressed,
Mhm.
you feel a little bit of tension in your stomach or in your jaws or these kind of places. The stress always shows itself in some places. Even if you're very strong, the stress will also show it in the weakest place of your own. So you will feel it. It's impossible not to be without stress because as soon as there is force, there is stress. Now that brings me to the question what you asked. Can we be stressless? I just created this word, but you got what I mean. It's physically, technically, mentally impossible because even if you don't have any problem in your life right now, even if everything is going perfect,
Mhm.
then chances are you create a balance of force,
Mhm.
and a little bit of force can create the same amount of stress, but a huge amount can exert when you're in troubled times. And this is why we see a lot of phenomena. I'm like, I can complain about my situation all the time. Yeah, I'm not earning enough money. This is very hard for me. But then if I go to Africa, then they will make fun of me. Or if I go to some poorer country, they will make fun of me.
Mhm.
This is a third world problem.
Yeah.
But then how come everybody feels the same stress? Even everybody, like someone who has the health, someone who has all the money in the world, all the health in the world, all the good relationships, they will find something to make stress. Because as soon as force equivalence is destroyed by a little bit of a force, then there is stress. And it shows itself in the mind and it shows inside in the body.
Yeah. I think, yes, what I make out from how you explain stress and the impact of it on our bodies and minds, I understand that if we completely wipe out, firstly, it's not possible to completely wipe out stress from our lives. And even if we are able to do that, it is like, washing away or wiping away the meaning from our lives. It is something that gives us a purpose. Every day we wake up with some goal in mind, even if it is a small, a simple goal of walking to the bathroom and brushing your teeth. It is your next task on the to do. So if you're thinking about that, you're stressing about that for a short period of time in the right amount, I think that gives meaning to your day to day routine. It gives a meaning to your actions. You need to be active and alert. Otherwise, only staying calm and relaxed all the time, and I would rather call it being lazy.
Exactly, exactly. Just show an example of what you said. Yeah. It's one of Newton's laws.
Hmm.
It's
Inertia.
called the inertia.
Yeah.
Inertia. So
Yes.
if the object is in balance, there is no force acting on an object, or the resulting force is zero, so the sum of all the forces are zero,
Yeah.
then you won't do anything. Simple as that.
Correct.
What gets you moving is the force itself, internal or external, it doesn't matter. And this is
Hmm.
actually how the planes fly. Do you know how the
Yeah.
planes fly? The pressure difference. It is flying literally because of the stress acting on the wings. There is
Correct.
a pressure on the top of the wing, there's a pressure on the bottom of the wing. And as soon as there's a pressure difference, high pressure to low pressure, basically it creates a force. And this is how you fly as well, right?
Absolutely. Yes. That was about the physics of pressure, of stress. But talking about in general in life, it is important to have, a small amount of good stress about things that push you forward, that motivate you. Now, I'll give you a small example. I have two kind of alarms set on my phone. Uh, and that is done purposely, but intentionally I have set these two alarms. One of them is in a very squeaky, unpleasant voice. So it's a very harsh, hard sounding music. And the other one is a very soothing, calming, good to hear music. Now, why have I set these two? Is because, can you guess which one wakes me up?
I know which one wakes you up. My alarm clock used to be AC/DC. Back in black. My wife made me stop it, so
It's the squeaky one that wakes me up. That is what I take away from it. Every day when I wake up, I realize that unpleasant things can be a great motivator to get things done. Anything
exactly.
unpleasant, when it happens to you, it gives you a push to get things done, to get it all right. The only condition is, you should know how to channelize that push, how to channelize that force, or the energy that you have been given. So I think that is the good part about stress. In little amount, over a small period of time, something like, for example, if you are participating in an athletic event, you feel a little stressful about, running all the way through the ground. So that is good stress. That is, I call it the good stress. The good stress is actually called eustress. EUSTRESS. Yeah. So for example, if you are, married, and now it's been 2 years or 3 years, and now you want to start a family, that is a good kind of stress that pushes you to, move forward in life. For instance,
If you
uh,
want it deep down, yeah, it's good.
yeah, anything that is making you move to the next level in life is is a little stressful in the beginning, and that is okay, because that push is needed, right?
Exactly. I think the only difference, like if you deep inside actually want it, but you're nervous about the outcome or something like that, or if you don't want it and that's why you have stress. But of course, if you want it, you need a little bit of push, as you say, you need a little bit of kick from your behind.
Correct. A new job, a new position, preparing for it, preparing for your promotion, all these are good forms of stress. And they give a meaning to your life. It's very important to understand that, it is about your perception, how you see things coming up after you take that stress. So
Exactly.
so if you focus on the resources that you have, if you focus on uh, seeing the potential benefits of the situation or the circumstance that you are in, with that optimistic mindset, you are bound to deal with your stress in a positive way and make the best use of it.
I think also it depends on how you see the stress or the meaning you put onto the stress is deciding if the stress is bad or good, because the stress is good. It's a fact. Without stress, you won't do anything. You won't put yourself in uncomfortable situations. You have a little comfort zone and you will just sit there. You want something, you desire something, or you have a purpose. And that actually creates stress to go ahead and do something. As you say, in your job, you will have a lot of stressful situations. If you want it, if you want that raise, if you want that position, or if you want that better job, or if you want that family, you have to go ahead and do it. And without
Right.
stress, you're not going to do it. I think what makes a stress bad is like you are holding on too much to the result of the action that you're doing. So the good stress makes you act, but let go of the whole outcome. If you do it, you do it. If you can't do it, then there's nothing you can do, because literally that's everything you can do. But the bad stress is the one that you're holding on to the outcome. You want something so desperately that you can't live if it doesn't happen. And that
Even
creates every kind of
I
sickness, right?
I think even before the outcome, people tend to stress over, what the outcome would be. So
Exactly.
I think uh, the experiencing any kind of stress, even if it is good stress, experiencing it for too long, the chronic form of good stress can become bad stress. It
Exactly.
can ruin or play with your health, both mental and physical. But do you think is there a possibility to convert bad stress into good stress?
That's the detachment. So the understanding that you control your actions, but you don't control anything else in the universe. So it is a balance. Your dance with the universe, that you do your actions and you calculate, you logically figure out, or you have a purpose, you go for it. However, your gut feel makes you feel like, you go ahead and do it, but you don't expect anything in return. As soon as you expect a specific result to your action, then that stress will eventually make you sick. And I think
Hmm.
there is a difference between the good stress and the bad stress, and how you can separate it, and how you can basically realize if you are under dangerous virus called stress or not. Do you agree?
Yeah. Ozan, I think we need to talk more about what would happen. How do you think a stress-free life can be bad? A completely calm and relaxed state. How can that be worst for us?
Well, because eventually you're not gonna get anything you want in a life where there's no stress, right? As we talked, that makes you get up in the morning and do stuff. Like I get myself stressed on purpose when I'm working, but because I like it and because it gives me excitement. I can track the status of it by how much excitement I'm getting in my body. The feeling of excitement, how you feel the breath in your diaphragm when you're excited. That feeling, butterflies in your stomach when you're doing
Yeah.
something you love, but you're stressed. It makes you do it, makes you stay up all night. That's how I work usually. If I have something to do, I stay up all night and I go ahead and do it. I wrote the entire Lean Mind in the night. I didn't sleep at all that year. It becomes problematic when you start to track the the pain is bigger than the excitement in your body.
Hmm.
That's where the line is. If the pain is more, then you know that you're in the dangerous area. And as long
Hmm.
as you're not feeling this excitement anymore, then it's not good. It's not good stress. So basically you need to consciously detach. But you need that excitement. And excitement is basically what makes your life experience very good, right? And you don't have that stress, then you don't have this little bit of excitement. So you would be a little bit more in a apathy, right?
Right. I agree. Absolutely. I think stimulating the mind is as important as calming it. And if we want our brain to stay uh, in in its proper functioning or at its peak, we must use it. So,
Use it or lose
before,
it. Yeah.
correct. Uh, if you are staying in a relaxed state for a long period of time, uh, you put yourself at a risk of a cognitive decline. There's loss of creativity. There is loss of thinking skills. There are memory issues that arise with it. And while in most cases stress can have a negative effect on the brain, at the same time we must also realize that in the right amount it can sharpen and improve your thinking capacity, your memory, and your ability to remember the details, the intricate
Exactly.
details. The fight and flight responses by the amygdala, the part of brain which is the smallest part. And if the amygdala stays inactive for too long, and the cerebral cortex has to take over the function of the entire brain, and that is when too much logics, too much rationality kills your creativity. You're not able to think on a go. That's when you are not street smart enough. You need a proper well environment to set your mind to working. You can't really think on the go. So to be spontaneous you need to have the right amount of stress all the time in your body and in your mind.
Just a little bit, right? Like a feel.
Yes, just like
Yeah.
a fuel.
Yeah. But you're right, actually, especially like when you don't have it, it can be dangerous and it can be very, very addictive. Someone who struggled with depression, I know that if you run away from stress and try to get to a place where you are less stressed and more comfortable, and you start to be home more, and you start to meet less people, you start to talk to less people, you start to do less different things, it becomes quite addictive. And then over time, it becomes self-destructive. What can get you out of that situation is the hardest thing to do because you have gotten used to the comfort, but you need a little bit of a push, you need a little bit of a stress. So basically, to avoiding the stress is actually getting yourself under the stress. So it's actually quite dangerous and addictive if you don't have that stimulation. That stimulation keeps you alive, keeps you wanna live, right?
Yeah. So the other day I was actually reading about a technique which they call as a relaxing technique for the mind. It is called resonance breathing and HRV biofeedback training. So this is about a simple inhale and exhale. When you inhale, there is increase in your heart rate, and your sympathetic nervous system gets stimulated, so you enter into a fight and flight zone. But as soon as you exhale, your heart rate drops and your parasympathetic nervous system gets stimulated, and you get into a relaxed state which they called rest and digest. So I really like the term, by the way. So yeah. So this technique is very simple. It's the simple breathe in, breathe out technique, which is used for relaxation, and this is the mechanism behind it. If we combine this technique with some visualization, you know, with every inhale and every exhale, we imagine something. Like, for example, just to add an additional stimuli to enhance the effect of this technique. So, commonly, what people really do is with when they inhale, during the process of inhale, they visualize a form of stressor in their life. So anything, it can be anything. Like, for instance, it can be a calendar full of meetings. That is like, if you visualize one calendar all red, that can be a stressor. So while you're inhaling, just maybe visualize a cluttered calendar full of back to back meetings and really feel the stress in your body coming in. And then with the exhale, you let it go. It helps you release whatever is stressing you. At the same time, it not just helps you relax, it also teaches our body to smoothly switch between excited and relaxed state. Instead of getting stuck in one state, be it relaxed or be it stressed, it is important to understand that this is the time to take stress and this is the time to let things go. Being stuck in an overstimulated state is going to be very bad for you, and being stuck in a completely relaxed and non-responsive state is equally bad. There needs to be a balance of both, and you need to know when is the right time to switch on and off. So I wanted to know from you if you have come across any such technique of de-stressing or perhaps switching on and off between stress and relaxed state.
I think this is the topic where everybody figures out themselves, like what works for them and what doesn't. For example, for
Yeah.
me, how do you switch it on? Like when I'm too lazy, when I'm not feel like doing anything, or things like that. Music is the one. I love hard rock, and
Yeah.
it just keeps me going. And I think moving. Whenever I feel super lazy, don't feel like doing anything, the best medicine of that is actually getting to move. I do some boxing. It's a hard one, not like a yoga or something like that. If you wanna get yourself kicked out, get yourself moving, then you got to do something a bit high intensity. And this really helps me out. It's really hard to start it, but it's really easy to keep going after that. And how I switch it off. I have a couple of methods. I used to do a lot of meditation, and it really helps me. There are actually a lot of apps for this as well. Like it counts how many seconds you breathe in and how many seconds you breathe out. And usually like breathing out longer, as you say, a bit more calming. So you breathe in for like, you can figure out yourself, but I breathe in like 5 seconds and I breathe out like 8 to 10 seconds. And it's really helping me relax in those situations. And another thing that really helps me is managing my thoughts. If I know what I'm stressed about exactly, there's
Mm-hmm.
one single event, specific event, and I'm very attached to the outcome of it. I always think like, you know what, what's the worst case scenario? What will happen? Makes you ready for the worst case scenario and then act on it. And it calms you down a little bit. And another technique, what I do is actually what we discussed, that doing nothing. It really helps. It just works.
Yeah.
It's simplest thing ever. You just do nothing. You can sit down. You can take a walk. You can do whatever that turns off your brain, right? So it just simply works. I get it from you, and it's just there. What do you do?
Thank you for plugging in my book, by the way.
Yes,
So,
it's a good
yes,
one. It's a good one.
thank you. Totally humbled. Yes, as you said, doing nothing. So, doing nothing can mean different things for different people, actually. Some people just sit and do nothing with their minds switched off for some time, whereas other people are physically doing nothing, but at the mental level, they are constantly thinking. It takes time for them to slow down their thoughts and analyze each and every thought. So it actually starts by slowing down your the train of your thoughts, and then probably dealing with every thought individually and trying to find where the relevance of it, trying to weigh its pros and cons. So yes, I think that is a good thing. And of course, music is everyone's answer to this
Yeah.
pain. Of course, we have different choices in music. Some people like hard rock, some people like the soft and subtle, soothing tones. But I believe music is designed to help us forget about, or maybe just ease out things in our life. And I think the best part about dealing with stress is that it's always easy to convert the distress or the bad stress to a good form by simply changing the way you look at it. Changing your perception is the answer to all the worries. And for that reason, I actually started my page on Instagram, Perceptions on Point. It was really hard to think of the name. So I always knew the kind of content I want to put on that page, but I didn't know what exactly am I doing. Like I couldn't find a common ground to all the content that was there in my mind. So one day suddenly I realized, what am I doing? I'm actually making people see the common and the most mundane things in a new light, which is not easily available. We talk about things in a certain way. There is a set path or a stereotype attached to anything and everything that we come across. So what I'm trying to do is making them think from a new angle. I'm trying to change their perception. So that's how I came up with the name
Now
of
we
that
know.
page. Yeah.
Now we know.
Yeah,
No, I had no
it's
idea, but
actually
it
just,
makes sense. That's the thing. We are talking about so basic and common things
yeah.
that everybody can think. Whoever is not listening to the podcast can think that we are just cliches. Stress, not be stressed. No, it's the most common thing in a different angle.
That's the reason I wanted to do this episode. I suggested this topic because not everyone looks at stress in this way we are discussing today, and we are giving them a new angle to think about. So changing perception can be anything, as I said, just reminding yourself of your strengths, focusing only on the good parts. When you are distressed, you can just focus on the small positive in that negative, and that grain can become larger and larger with your thoughts.
That's a nice analogy.
So Ozan, would you like to summarize our discussion today?
You put me under stress. So we discussed a little bit about the difference in the physical and mental stress and how actually similar it is. And it's basically just the force exerted on an object and the pressure it creates on the object or your mind and your body, basically. And we can see it in the mind, we can see it in the body as pain somewhere. And there are good and bad sides of it. So stress is not all the enemy, right? So we discussed about how technically impossible to be without stress. You can avoid it as much as you want, but that will put you in a state of inertia, basically apathy. And it's addictive to be without stress. So you need a little bit of stress to get you going, get you moving, just like how the planes fly. And that stress gives you excitement. It makes you do the things you would normally not do because you're just comfortable and you just don't feel like doing it. But of course, there's a dangerous side of stress as well. And that is when you're too attached to the outcome. That is the good and bad side of the stress, and you can see it in your body. Either it's an excitement or pain. And you can switch it on and off. Breathing, how you breathe in and how you breathe out can create such a nice balance of what I call holding on and letting go. This balance is actually what you need to stay in this optimum level of stress, where it's not too less, it's not too dangerous. We talk about how to switch it on and off. And you can use basically different techniques, depends on everybody. Music can help you do that. Your perception change the way you see the stress as well. And yeah, doing nothing as always. So did I do well?
Oh, absolutely loved it. Something that I would want to add to this is that calming and relaxation seem to be like the antidotes that we need. And that's why almost all well being and mindfulness apps place a huge focus on how to relax, or better put, how to de stress. But they could be missing a point. In everyday life, we simply can't eliminate all forms of stress, and we should not do either. In right doses and in the right form, we can make our stress as a stimulator, which is absolutely essential, which is the key to growth. It leads to a fulfilling life. So rather than trying to avoid stress altogether, I would say, we should become more resilient to it. We should increase our adaptability in the face of stress.
Just like coffee. Get a little bit.
Sure.
It helps you. It helps you. Cheers. My dog or coffee mug approves this message.
I really like that mug, by the way.
Oh, it's so cute.
Thank you so much, Ozan.
Thank you very much, Henna. It was just amazing. Your insights, your inputs. I appreciate it as always. And thank you to the listeners. Always leave a comment, message, whatever you feel like sending us, and stay stressed.
Yeah.
Is the good ending? Stay stressed? Yeah.
Take care.